Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 789.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what we're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding.
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin. We are joined on this episode once again by longtime friend of the show, Ken Nabbe, as we discuss the Legion of Superheroes, the life and death of Ferro Lad, Part 2. This is covering Adventure Comics 346, 347, 352 to 355, and 357. These can be found in the DC Comics Classics Library Collection of Life and Death of Ferro Lad, the Legion of Superheroes Silver Age Omnibus Volume 2, and many of the issues are on the DC Universe app. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. I want to give a special shout out to both companies who have been supporting us for a number of years that we've been doing this podcast, and they support a number of other podcasts. DCB Service is, of course, your comic book pre-order source. In this day and age where we're looking to save money on comics, DCB Service offers discounts on everything that you pre-order. But InStockTrades.com is a great place to go to for any of your collect edition needs. Everything is always available at a discount, and both companies have been doing a great job of supporting podcasts for many, many years. So I just want to give a special shout out and thanks to both of them. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Come on, Skreel. Let's pay these Plutonian beam makers a visit.
Gentlemen, we are going to be reconvening on part 2 of our Legion of Superheroes discussion, The Life and Death of Ferro Lad. Writer and layouts are Jim Shooter, penciler Kurt Swan, inker George Klein, letterer is Milton Snappin, and the original series covers are by Kurt Swan and George Klein. And we're reconvening, actually, with Adventure Comics issue number 353. But before we jump into all that, I want to welcome back to the show Ken Nabbe. And Ken, welcome back.
Appreciate it. Sorry, I was out of town for a week, so
this all works out. I'm really excited. I actually had a chance to reread these issues just because I wanted them fresh in my head. And this issue 353 in particular, there's so much to love about this one. I'm still marveling at the age of Shooter during all of this, because he gets, like, in this and in the other issues we're going to be talking about, he starts getting really deep. And I'm amazed at how much we're going to get to one issue where I'm questioning the choice.
Yeah.
And it's more when we get into, we'll talk about it later when we get into adult Superman, and time travel, and maybe his lack of understanding of how time travel actually works. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Oh, because there's such scientific evidence, Sean, on time travel.
Yeah, but Superman's. I'll jump to it. Okay, my only issue, and we'll skim over this back when we get there. There is an issue coming up where Superman keeps, and it's actually for 2 issues. He keeps talking about how he has to get back. He's got things to do, and it's like there's this thing called time travel. And time travel is very common in this future. And Superman keeps saying, I got to get home. And when the Legion needs him the most, he's got to get home. And it's because, like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's time travel. He can just plop back where he needs to be, whatever. So
Now, Rufus told Bill and Ted that the clock is still going in San Dimas.
you're right. So if we're going to use Bill and Ted's logic,
I was very disappointed in Avengers Endgame that they did not reference Bill and Ted time travel.
Yes.
Along with Back to the Future and other paradox styles.
When we we'll talk more about this when we actually get to that point. But if it's amazing, out of all of these issues that are here, that is my only minor nitpick, and it's only because I'm a time travel geek that those are was my concern, and that's a geeky concern, which is what these books are supposed to do. They're supposed to motivate us to want to have conversations. We left off last time the Sun Eater was coming. And we were left off in the rare cliffhanger of Adventure Comics where the Sun Eater's here and the Legion team is gathering the villains to start working out this plan to somehow handle the Sun Eater. And we've got an interesting cast of character between the Legion of Superheroes and the Fatal Five here. This Kurt Swan artwork, I want to say again, well, and to your point, Ken, you brought this up last time we talked about this, Kurt Swan and Jim Shooter artwork.
Right.
It's really still beautiful. I love these characters. I love the character designs, especially with this one. We start getting more into some of the alien races and seeing them in there. And these are very thought-provoking. And you see why years later they went back to some of these characters and some of these races that they tabled for a long time and brought them back in for stories like Invasion.
We talked last episode. I mean, I did not realize that Shooter had created the Fatal Five because they're such a critical Legion villain group outside the Legion of Supervillains. But of course, they're all unique powers in comparison to the Legion of Superheroes analogous power sets that they have to Legion of Superheroes.
What's interesting about them on this is we get a really flavor for what their dynamic is too, especially with the fact that there's even in their working relationship together, there's all manipulation, and some of them are out. And when they try to be out, we've got Validus being manipulated to be almost the bodyguard of the group, or
heavy,
the muscle.
Yeah, the heavy.
Is the heavy.
Well, and again, it's one of those things where they took their time to give the villains character and personality. And I think that is something a lot of times gets missed. What makes it really cool, what makes Lex Luthor such a great villain is because his personality is so developed and you understand what he's about. They actually spent some time to give us these personalities of these villains, and they stay true to themselves throughout the entire story. And I think that, again, you're talking about we keep talking about age and how amazed we are that someone this young could actually create this depth of character, but it's not just depth of hero, it's a depth of the villains that they're facing. So the best heroes have the best villains, and these aren't even the villains. They're right now supposed to be helping the Legion against the true villain, the Sun Eater. So it's kind of neat that they're spending some time on these characters.
Mano and Persuader and that whole battle that all of a sudden just broke out between the two of them was a lot of fun because I love, part of the team's like, well, this is a great way to discover what these guys can actually do. But I mean, they were really going at it, and Persuader swings that axe around like he was ready to. I'm very sure that if Mano hadn't ducked there, we would have had a headless Mano.
Yeah. He was going for the kill shot. He was not going for, let me hurt him. No, he wanted to take the head off.
Well, it's like these two going as we already discussed that Mano is a genocidal maniac, completely destroying his home planet previously. I mean, I think we're talking total kill count. I think he's up there, even beating out the Legion of Supervillains at this point. So how him and Persuader, it's like, are we trying to one-up each other, guys? Is that what we're trying to do?
And I like Emerald Empress tries to act like the intermediary between the two, and they won't have it, and that's what makes Validus mad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He really is almost like a Hulk of the team.
Well, yeah.
And I'd actually quite like the way that he plays out in all of this piece, because he fits that role nicely, and it works real well. Wouldn't like him when he was angry.
Yeah.
Superboy in this, I love the use of the cape and just, I love how the Legion is trying to somehow keep this team together when they have to be recognizing what's going on around them is just nonstop betrayal.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when they're trying to call out to the other plants of the UFP, and they're all like, "We got our own problems." These scroll adjacent guys, it's like, thanks, we're here to help, and we need your help, but tough, suck it up, go find some supervillains to help you out, kind of thing. And it's like, thanks, guys, appreciate it.
And with the villains, they're all opportunists, like Emerald Empress and Superboy and the whole piece that's going on with that, where she's trying to, let's get him under control so that way he can help me recapture my planet. And I honestly believe, which is what's great about the character, if Superboy had said yes, the two of them would probably just be leaving together right now and forgetting this whole Sun Eater nonsense to go and take that particular and that's how she would have viewed it. Like, okay, we'll take care of that. Let them take care of Sun Eater, and we're just going to kind of go do our thing right now and reclaim my planet. I don't think she would have stuck around by any stretch of the imagination because the opportunity would have presented itself. She was just looking for her champion.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where you get her point, you get what she's after, and of all the people that tried to do that with, she really didn't, she picked the wrong person. There's probably other people who she could have convinced to go along with her, but it's Superboy. Dude, he ain't gonna abandon Earth,
I do like Tharok's plan, because Tharok's got this great idea of if I'm able to soup up some of our major players here and send them into the situation. But I love that this is like a time, like, restricted souping up of these characters.
Well, it's souped up Silver Age Superboy.
Right.
Is he going to move the entire galaxy? I mean, he's already moving planets. I was like going, is this a little overkill? I mean, this is like worst case scenario. Well, let's power up Superboy to even crazier levels than he already is in the Silver Age.
But we still kept him with the Red Sun restriction, which it's like, listen, Tharok, if you want to really power him up, like, give him some kind of shield and just let him go.
Something.
Yeah, like an armor type of thing that can block radiation, that can block the red sun, that can convert red sun to yellow sun, that can block kryptonite. This is the future. They should have this tech handy. You shouldn't need a super brainiac cyborg guy to actually build it. And I do love the fact that he not only superpowered everybody, but then he made us his mind control. So he's like, yeah. So and it's the villain side going, I'm going to not only do what I said I was doing, I'm jacking everybody up, but I'm putting in my own little control on the most powerful one of the villains. So I am going to be able to, when all this is said and done, get away and have a very glorious life. And I loved seeing that side of, again, the villainous. The strategery we have seeing here is very good.
The writing was pretty cool at their reaction to these new powers, though, or the new power, the strength of the powers. Yeah. Where I like that Sunboy's kind of like, it's all I can do keep from bursting into flames, and Cosmic Boy was sitting there saying, hey, I got to turn off my new super magnetism. I did like the establishment of, though, like, they're having trouble controlling the new power levels. If you're trying to really show that, I'm really amazed at the layers that Shooter was putting in at this stage in his writing career, because that stuff really was very effective. I do like the chapter portions of this, because we get Sunboy having his first interaction with the Sun Eater, and then we kick into chapter 2 of this story. I forgot about these breaks and how much I like the way that the story kind of unfolds that way, because we had his first attempt, and even with their jacked up powers, things are kind of going the way they want them to, but also kind of not. They underestimated the sheer depth of power that this Sun Eater has. So the plan is a good plan, but it's not working.
And they don't bury the lead.
Yeah.
On part 2. We know somebody's getting offed.
Yeah.
It's slain by the Sun Eater.
Right.
And I would have guessed at this point, if I was a reader, that it was going to be one of the villains. Because they were the newest crop.
Sure.
They were the most they were the most expendable out of this group. We knew Superboy, he's got too much plot armor. He wasn't going to go in.
Yeah, there's one person who was safe, and that was Superboy.
Yeah.
But again, it was neat how they're laying this out. But I do like you, Sean. I like how we have this plan, and it on paper it seems plausible. It seems possible, and they're going through and they're trying to stick with it. But just it's not about a bad plan. It's just that they're overpowered. This Sun Eater is more powerful than they could deal with, even with this plan, even with them being jacked up. I like seeing that they tried the plan and they gave us an explanation why the plan failed. It wasn't a bad plan because it was created by a super genius, but it just, the power.
And we haven't really talked about the plan. I mean, the plan to divide and conquer.
Right.
It was a pretty good plan in the grand scheme of things. I'm not sure the power sets. I really don't know what Princess Projectra was going to do against the Sun Eater. But at least they didn't throw Karate Kid at it. Or
what if that was a discussion? Maybe we
super powered Karate Kid sliced and stuff with his hands and things.
I did like that it was a layered approach, Ken, to your point, where we're having each of the Legionnaires and the villains each take a certain phase of this plan, with the idea of being gradually weakening this. It was supposedly taking advantage of each power set to break this thing down in phases instead of all of them attacking at once.
And of course, no one's got the Legion flight rings working either.
Right.
Yeah. Yet again.
What is up with the Legion flight ring? Does it work? Does it not work?
Not work.
I'm confused by this.
Well, are they wearing them?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, we're talking Silver Age, so we only had 4 colors to work with.
Right.
But it's like, we could have issued some to the villains. They've probably been able to low jack them pretty good too. But they're still flying on the saucers, just like the flying platforms earlier. It's man, they're so critical in the 80s and 90s. I mean, even Superman has a Legion flight ring,
right?
When Johns relaunches them, and in Legion of Three Worlds, they all have flight rings, no matter what timeline they're from. But still, it's just so weird that they don't have them.
Well, they also use it as their alert alarm, right? So, at the end of the day,
it's flight.
Yeah. Imagine, no wonder why they never can get the Legion, the rest of the Legion to come and show up. None of them are wearing their doggone Dakota rings.
What? I'm actually going to correct myself and say there's a reason why they're not using the flight rings and you're using the platforms.
What?
It's so then when they get knocked out, they can be pulled back automatically. There's control over it. Because as the Sun Eater's reforming, he's like, I'll activate the homing devices on the space platforms to bring the others back here. So there's an automated control for the platforms. If they had Legion flight rings on, they'd be drifting out in space.
But can't they have the rings on and still let the platforms work? It's not like they're going to conflict.
Going too deep, Sean.
But that's what we're supposed to do. It's geeky stuff. That's what this is. I don't know. I'm still questioning the lack of rings.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that Ferro Lad's the only one that can get to the center. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's forewarning,
right,
for the next few pages. But that the Sun Eater does have a central nervous system of some sort, a heart, a brain, a unilateral thingy dingy inside that only Ferro Lad figured out how to get to. Not Superboy, not supercharged Superboy, Ferro Lad. And did we even see if Ferro Lad did he get supercharged in the previous? Probably, because looks like everybody. So everybody was going to going after the Sun Eater. So that makes sense why he could get to the center of the Sun Eater.
I did like that each hero and villain had to come up with clever ways to even survive this first onslaught. That they wound up in, for various reasons. It wasn't the same thing for each one. Superboy was dealing with the Red Sun. Cosmic Boy was dealing with his issues. And I liked that Emerald Empress and Projectra, they had to get clever in their ways of surviving this particular piece. And actually, Projectra almost dies, and as if it wasn't for Validus, which is a pretty critical piece right now. Validus makes the choice to save her. And it goes back to the whole Hulk. I do find him endearing in this story the same way I do the Hulk, in the sense that here is this giant who, because of circumstances, has been involved in the things that he has, but when he sees her in this situation, makes the attempt to save her, and she recognizes that and starts to like flesh out.
Well, it's almost like a King Kong thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's imprinted on her. And I'm trying to remember. She's white. I was like, is she the blonde of the group? No, she's got the stark white hair. So
yeah. But we got Mano and Ferro Lad. It was cool to see the Ferro Lad piece. You're right. It's pretty critical to this one because we've got to see the establishment of Ferro Lad being able to get to a point that some of the others weren't able to. I mean, he still had problems, but he was able to get there.
And the Sun Eater defeats all of them using its natural ability, because we're still the Sun Eater. We haven't gotten any sentience from the Sun Eater. It is basically a force of nature, a creature that's going towards the sun. So everything the Sun Eater's done to defeat each of the villains and each of the heroes is just part of its natural existence. It's not had to create something or think. It's one of those, okay, this is a force of nature. Can we stop it as it approaches Soul?
Yeah, it seems to adapt though. But I'm agreeing with you. That's more of it's an interesting sort of entity in the sense that I'm not getting this conscious thought, but it is a survivor in the sense that the way that it functions, it naturally adapts to what's being done to it. Because that's how the Superboy piece, like all of a sudden there's a red sun component, and it seems to be constantly adapting to what's going on around it. So it just keeps completing its course of action.
Yeah, and again, like with Mano, the thing sense that his power is based only on the one hand, so it knows to protect itself from it. And I'm trying to see what did it do against the Ferro Lad? It looks like it just kind of like was just doing the beatdown kind of stuff.
It blasted him.
Yeah.
It said it's blasted me back because he got really close to the center, and its reaction was to blast him away from it, repelling him from the situation. So,
like a natural defense, some type of like white blood cell kind of remove the foreign object. But honestly, Ferro Lad doesn't do a whole lot of attack outside of just entering. It's not. He's got a very defensive power set.
Well, and he's even saying it. I couldn't even weaken it as the others did. I had the best crack at it, and I flopped. But really what his strength was getting farther than everybody else did.
Right.
So it does play out later on. You can see why his motivation was to somehow be effective, though, in recognizing the situation. Because when he gets back, the others are seriously hurt. I actually love the protection of Superboy saying, hey, listen, you've been weakened by a red sun. I'm the one to take this bomb. And I get the rationale and the reason why. I do feel like nobody was really protesting it, though. It's like, no, he's going. Like, I don't see any, no,
Ferro Lad, don't go.
Yes.
Don't go.
It's kind of,
guys, he's only been around for 7 issues at this point.
Right.
This is his 7th issue.
I like that he's already outside the ship when people are saying, stop him.
Yeah, somebody got some crocodile arms there.
Like, lads, his flight ring is working because there's no other way he's getting from point A to point B.
Oh, that's a very good point. He does not, right. Like, there is not a flight instinct on that one.
Yeah, there's the Legion plot flight rings. So when necessary, they were.
You're right, though. The establishment, if it wasn't for the establishment, the fact that he was able to get to that center,
it wouldn't have made any sense.
Yeah, he gets it. He's like, and the sacrifice makes a ton of sense to me. I was able to get there. So now I've got the thing that I did not have my first time around, a way to really do something. And I can take advantage of the fact that I got farther than everybody else and really make this delivery. I don't know that Superboy would have been able to do it. I actually think he was right.
Yeah, I think the only other character in this mix that could have really defeated the Sun Eater would have been Persuader. because he could have gotten in with the axe, and that would probably been the only other weapon in this mix that would have worked against the Sun Eater.
Yeah. Because he did a pretty good job cutting it up into pieces.
Right.
So he would have been able to cut through it. So they actually, a tag team of Persuader and somebody else would have done a lot better job at getting to the core. And you figure if you do multiple parts, so Ferro Lad carrying the bomb, Persuader cutting the way, and then Superboy or Sunboy flying them out in a nick of time. They all could have survived.
Was it the Sun Eater was small enough at that point after all the other parts were removed that allowed Ferro Lad to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop and blow it up.
Yeah.
But it works, especially again, the 66. So we're talking 3 years before the moon landing. Mm-hmm. So for Shooter to come up with this mentality and go, okay, this is what's going to work. And then, so it's so anticlimactic. The Sun Eater's gone. Okay. And now the villains are being villainous.
Right.
Yeah.
But they've been offered great reform.
Yeah.
Like, hey, listen, this is awesome. Now that you guys helped with this, you can be reformed and you can live this normal life now.
Pardons,
right?
Mano a pardon for destroying a planet. What, 4 or 5 billion people? No big deal. Here's your pardon.
Yeah.
Even at the end of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, they just gave him 6 minutes head start. After it's like, oh, you get full pardons.
Right. You get a pardon and you get a pardon. You get a pardon. It'll be like, it's just help us with this. And really, realistically, you can make the argument, guys, we didn't need any. You just need a Ferro Lad to get to the center with a bomb.
Yeah. They didn't know that at the time.
No, it's true. You're right. Yes. I did like that because it was so obviously your typical villain turn. I did like the appeal to Validus.
Yeah, right.
That was a nice twist. I do like stories where it's not always the heroes that win, the heroes survive. And in this scenario, this wasn't. The Legion didn't win this. It was Validus that actually saved them, and it was only his connection with Projectra that allowed them to survive this circumstance. And I like when writers aren't afraid to explore stuff like that and not give us that traditional, like the heroes hoorah, we won in the end and that type of thing. Good survival story always fits for me. I love this kind of stuff.
And the 5 disappear, and they've only been around for 3 issues. We don't know if they're coming back or not at this point. They're not an established villain group for the Legion of Superheroes. So these could have been a one shot, especially Jim. Did you read up on any of Validus's backstory?
No, generally.
Okay. So for him to have disappeared at this point, looking at what his origin is, would have been really, really out of the ordinary. And just the fact they're gone, and the Legion of Superheroes doesn't know. Did they get teleported? Did they get zapped? No one really knows what's going on, but we need to package Ferro Lad off and launch him to the what do they call it? The cemetery satellite. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they called it the tomb or not. It's a cemetery satellite. It's like, okay. I was always used to the statues, and the statues don't show up until later on. We start looking at, okay, when you start losing more Legionnaires, because at this point we had only permanently lost Ferro Lad and one of Triplicate Girl's bodies.
Right.
At this point, that's it. We had lost Lightning Lad and he'd come back. We'd lost Lightning Lad's arm and he got a mechanical one. We start looking at all those, and I'm not sure if Polar Boy has got or Polar Kid, is it Polar Boy? If he's got his ice arm in this or not. No, he's got 2 full arms. So
what with Ferro Lad, the interesting part was they didn't even capture his body. They said like, and I like Brainiac's like sitting here saying, hey, not even my super brain can figure out a way to grab those particles. So they're really just launching up a satellite or a rocket for the purpose of honoring
memorial.
Yeah.
And where was Brainiac? You know, we got Chemical Kid, we got Brainiac, we got Mandarin, we got Chameleon Boy, Siren Girl. I mean, where were all they? I don't.
They weren't wearing their rings. They had no way to be communicated.
They explained that. They said they were too far out to get back in time.
It's Brainiac, fine. Come on. And this is before he's dating Supergirl, so he should have all kinds of time on his hands.
I do think part of the strength of what Shooter was trying to do here was recognizing we've got too many characters to be able to focus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very weak reason as far as why they weren't there, but his thinking of, let's pare back the team a little bit. Let's bring some new players into the game so that way I can really screw around with them and have some fun with this. It was really a good move for such a young writer to recognize, hey, if I'm going to add some depth to these characters, I need to focus.
Well, yeah, he splits them off into smaller groups in his stories, which makes things a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah.
It gets harder. And you see Shooter's writing mature much. I mean,
sure.
You know, he's writing Secret Wars. He's got everybody, their brother and their third cousin in that book.
Mm-hmm. Time management, team management. You know, that's some of the hardest stuff that you see. You know, some of your best writers will sometimes skip a beat on that. You know, just when you've got a large team, like, you know, there have been some X stories where, like, okay, you guys got too many people here. You need to back it off because you're tripping on each other. And so I like how he managed this. This was a really cool, fun story, you know, and yeah, we're making some fun stuff. We're making some laughing on some stuff, but all in all, this is absolutely an amazing story that kind of holds up today. It does. It's one of those things that, because again, this was written before the moon landing.
Oh yeah.
And there's some really cool space stuff in it. This was written before we had space stations and rocket ships, and we had active satellites really up and about. A satellite's common nowadays. Back then, when this was written, there were 2 satellites in Earth's orbit. The Sputnik that the Russians launched and the U.S. one, and I'm
trying to think Sputnik 1 would have already fallen out of orbit by 66. So you would have just had, I'm trying to remember, you see now my middle-aged brain is kicking.
Mine too. It's killing me.
I'm trying to remember. I used to know what satellite found the Van Allen belts. But yeah, it's very much starting to look in the fact that we didn't have superhero death.
Right.
That was that's still a brand new thing of where, again, Ferro Lad's less than a year. I mean, Adventure Comics was monthly at this point. So, you know, this guy's been around for less than a year, but we saw this is the life and death of Ferro Lad. Now I've seen Ferro Lad's death, which is halfway through the collected edition we're reading.
Yeah.
I mean, he dies halfway through. So we still have to deal with the aftermath of Ferro Lad's death, which, of course, I thought that the next issue was much later. I didn't realize that this next issue is 354. It's the next issue.
And it's the adult Superman coming to this, which was an interesting choice.
Fun, weightlifting, a traditional strongman Superman versus some of that Dan Jurgens.
And he does have that. He has the George Reeves, pumped out chest and everything like
the barrel chest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's times where he's standing there and it's so obvious. And I love the look. It's not a crack on it. One of the things you guys were pointing out before was just how this holds up. This has been a page turner. Yeah, I reread these and really found not just an equal engagement, an additional excitement to reread these because I really enjoyed hanging with them. And this issue I really like. The Tales of the Legion of the Superheroes of superheroes. I keep always throwing the extra "the" in there. I've been guilty of that for years. But I always keep adding the Legion of the Superheroes. But it's the Tales of the Legion of Superheroes. And this adult Legion piece is such a thing that I always geek out about. It's what I loved about Earth 2. Just this idea that in the future, Superman's going back as an adult. I love that he goes back as an adult and has to go back to the adult Legion.
Receding hairline Legion.
Yes. He can't possibly go back and see his young friends. He's got to go back and see them years later to see what's going on with them.
And I know Cosmic man does not have a receding hairline when he is the timekeeper. I mean, the time trapper.
Right.
Because one of the many origins of the time trapper that it's Cosmic Boy stuck in a time sphere and ends up at the end of time. So, yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, it's very much, and it's these Legionnaires we see at the beginning. These are not ones that ever come again. There is no Quantum Queen, no Reflecto. These Legionnaires are just in this timeline, in this hyper time. Wow, I'm pulled out hyper time. This hyper timeline, we don't see now. And Shadow Lass, she's blue skinned when she shows up. Again, another one of those Legionnaires that's just got the special powers of members or citizens of that planet. But I had forgotten that Cosmic Boy did marry Night Girl, she's a member of the Legion of Substitute Superheroes because she only has her powers at night. Okay.
So one of the things I like about this future Legion is the idea that this is a team that kept growing, kept evolving, kept having this impact. And you get to see the Legion headquarters evolve and grow.
Right. I guess it wasn't a Tesseract because they had to get bigger.
Yeah.
At the last episode, that how they fit everything inside the Legion headquarters. And now it's huge. And they still have that classic. They keep that Legion flag all the way into the mid 80s. That blue with red L blazoned about it.
She got her. We have a cat who decides to join the podcast in the background. My cat, I'll say it now just because we never really talk about it on the podcast. If you listen to the podcast, there is someone here, a cat in the background. I have a deaf cat, and her way of interacting with the world is noise. She's lovely. She's over 20 years old, but at this point in time, that's what it is. Usually I will put her in our bedroom when we're recording for the purpose of kind of isolating her. Tonight with the doing in the evening, I was like, I didn't have the heart to go and do it. And you see how well that paid off. So yeah, that last scream at the end was not my cat being choked. It was my wife grabbing the cat so that way she goes elsewhere. I wish, and I'm sure there's probably issues where they've done this because it is a very DC thing to do. I would love to see a Legion headquarters layout. Like, what did it look like for the younger Legion and what did it look like for the older ones? Because I always loved the Batcave cutaways and stuff like that where we got a chance to see what that looks like, no matter how much it evolves over time. I always geeked out I love layers, and DC.
I'm surprised there's one of those for the pre-Crisis Legion.
Yes.
That'd be something they would have done in the 83, 84, the Baxter run, Baxter paper run.
Yes. Agreed. When we get to see him go through the museum and you see all these couples together, I love that, the people that were couples have their own wing.
Yeah.
It's pretty anticlimactic. You go through and see your statue alone, and you go to the next wing. It's like, these are all the pathetic people that did not wind up with somebody, but here's your group that somehow got it together and got it and coupled up.
And it's only if you married another superhero.
Right.
If you didn't, you married just a normie. Yeah, you're not in this way.
No, it's exactly right. This is the special crowd.
The corner.
You marry a muggle, you don't get nothing.
Yeah.
His interactions with Brainiac were great when Superman comes through, because I like that idea of you've come to the far-flung future, you're trying to see what's going on with the Legion, you hopefully want to start interacting with some of your friends. And that catch-up piece was kind of cool, seeing them start to navigate, and he actually becomes the narrator of what's going on with the rest of the Legionnaire, especially we've got ones that have retired now. Right. Married and retired. They moved on to other lives and retired. We get to see what their kids are like and which ones have kids that have gained powers, which ones have kids that have not. And I thought that all of that was super cool. You had to love the Mon-El piece.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge Mon-El fan. I think he's great. I need to send my first appearance out to be graded. But it's very much one of those I love it's Ultraman. Ultra Boys. I mean, his power set always fascinated me because he's got super breath, flight, and heat vision, but he can only use one at a time. So he's basically Timu Superman is what he is. So And I had to remember. I thought Phantom Girl ended up with Timberwolf. I had to go back and look to see exactly how some of these relationships. Because again, we're at 66, and the Legion goes through until 5 years later, which is I think 87, 88. So Jim's just making assumptions here on how things are going to turn out. He doesn't know how long he's going to be on the book. But yeah, that Mon-El's out there doing Mon-El things. I love how he looks. He's still got that Superman look, even though there's absolutely no blood relation at all between those two. So
when Shooter did, I was reading in his bio that he left for a certain point in time and didn't come back to, what was it, the 70s?
Yeah.
That he came back, so he took a little break. I don't know why. I didn't realize in his history, just because of how early he got started, I didn't realize that he didn't go all the way through. And he did really, when you take a look at the overall scheme of things, but there's a window there where he stepped away from comics and then came back.
Well, if I remember rightly, he had to support the family much more directly than just the comic book writing. I mean, even comic book writers today aren't getting paid as much as artists are. And how much are you getting paid? And you realize he's doing this basically as he's doing mail-in. I mean, he's not traveling to New York. He's still living in Pittsburgh. He's having to support the entire family at this point. I know his mom was doing odds and ends, and where you have to grow up and get a real job, So the fact he was able to do for as long as he did, though, and then be able to roll that into other work. I'm trying to remember where Jim went to college. It's something I should know, because he really doesn't. I've never heard a college claim him as a graduate or alumni. So,
and you'd think too, with his history, that he would have, somebody would have picked him up. I'm looking at Wikipedia of all places just to see if something stands up, because that usually be where it is. I'm not seeing it pop up right away. Let's see. New York University.
Okay. That would make more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 69, in 69, he went to New York University.
Yeah.
But, yeah, what did we do before Wikipedia having this in? I always put Wikipedia with a grain of salt, just because, sometimes the sources aren't the case, but it's great for stuff like this. So we're looking at the history of the future history of some of these Legionnaires. And I did like the editor notes, because I love the for the newcomers section at the end, where it's talking about Timberwolf's real name and some of the backstory with him. I love stuff like that. We are seeing some of that creep back in from time to time, but it is something I greatly miss, because I do feel like sometimes, and I felt it growing up, that it was the comic book company kind of talking back to us. We were having this interchange, and I always didn't feel like it worked very well. It felt like it was, hey, if you forgot this, or if you never knew this is some info for you to be engaged in the story. There was something I always found charming about that. I still do.
Well, it's just the amount of dialogue you have in these books at this point. I mean, you don't see this much word balloon in today's books. Just how much exposition, how much we have to discuss. He's really driving it versus the artwork driving it. Now, not to belittle Kurt Swan in any way, shape, or form, but we start looking, even as we get more action later on, when we start seeing who the unnamed villain is, as we get deeper into the next section, still lot of dialogue, very dialogue heavy, how each of the characters are explained, and a lot more thought balloons. Yeah, thought balloons are just something you don't see nearly as often these days. I was rereading Salvation Run this week after watching the end of Peacemaker, and going, how those books, the dialogue, how it's still got quite a bit of dialogue, but still you're not having the thought. There's not a single thought balloon in all 7 issues, not a single one. So Vandal Savage is just very open on what his opinion is.
Well, some of our favorite stories have been where they intentionally don't do the thought balloons. That one Dick Grayson run where they intentionally didn't do it. He was a spy. And any thought balloons on anybody. That way, when you're reading it, you had to base on, what was said, what you're seeing. And
Yeah.
the spy world, you don't get the side notes, so they didn't give it to you. And I like that. But with this, again, a lot of this is Brainiac taking Superman on a tour of Legion of Superhero headquarters, seeing some of his old friends who have grown old, retired, who have kids and whatnot. So I like, again, this was a good usage of dialogue, good usage of those editor notes to move us through the story. You know?
Yeah, it's just so interesting watching this adult Legion versus what Johns did with the adult Legion in Superman, and then what Johns then does with the adult Legion in Legion of Three Worlds, the Mark Waid asshole Legion. And it's just like the fact that Shooter had wrote 2 or 3 issues at the end of that run of Wade's real jerk Legion. I mean, they are just mean people in that run. I was quite shocked. I was like, what left turn did we take here?
The interesting thing is Shooter's impression as far as what would happen with the Legion of the future is the amount of them retiring. I do love when we're with Colossal Man, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Superman standing there with the hands on the hips with the chest pumped out as good for you, Gim. Yeah. I just love the pose. It's so Kurt Swan Superman. It's like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like who like talks like that and poses like that? Nobody but Superman. He can get away with it. He can do it. It's kind of a Superman thing. But everyone, it seems like most of the team, when you're looking at a majority of them, the ones that are the players that are so well known, he has moved them on to the point where their lives, because of their age, they've kind of aged out and they moved on to other things. And that was just his impression on where they were going to eventually go. Not that they would still be operating and active at this point.
Well, I also think it's so Shooter could then go, how far removed are they from Fear Boy's death?
Yeah.
Also, they're not in peak training condition.
Right.
I mean, they're just not, the parents. You got other things you got to deal with. It sort of removes them from the mix slightly. And then you start seeing how they handle things as adults versus how they would handle them as kids. But again, we still have a kid writing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, Jim can't drive a car yet. He's writing this stuff.
To the point of him paring back the team and understanding the depth of the team, he kind of combined the two teams. And I actually really like that idea. Hey, due to the fact that the membership turnover, people are kind of aging out and going out in both the Legion of Substitute Heroes and Legion of Superheroes. We merged the teams together because of the fact that it was a great way to keep an active membership instead of both teams dwindling away. And it was a good move. I actually really liked the logic behind it, and that he combined them in a way. Polar Boy graduating to Polar Man and now being a part of the team proper was a cool solution.
Well, he's keeping the team small, but we've got a lot of cameos.
Yes,
I mean, we've got Mon-El. We've got Polar Man, Polar Boy. And we started looking at Ultra, Phantom Lady, Ultra Boy. It's like, yes, let's make sure people realize these people are still in there. I do like how Lightning Lad has got a physical arm again, because we're like, I guess in the 10 to 20 years, I'm assuming, well, everybody's balding, so I'm assuming they're mid 40s versus, we don't really talk about how long it was, but that Lightning Lad would have gotten his arm back somehow, and he would have been made whole in some way, shape, or form. But it's that they've made a point of getting those physical attributes of outside them just being taller, but what their look is. I'm surprised they get more of them facial hair.
Yeah.
I see that in the Legion of Super Villains, we start seeing more mustaches and graying temples, but not the Legion of Superheroes. So I guess people don't go gray in the 30th century until they're in the 50s.
Well, they also should have gone with the goatees, because
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, this is 66. We haven't defined evil goatees yet. Yeah, Nemo ain't been sporting some spirit gum on his chin yet, so.
The diversion that ends up coming up in this, I liked that the Legion is seasoned. and they realize that it's a diversion. So Superman, you should stick back here. We can handle this. And I like the team that broke up. We got to see a combination of power sets and how the Legion worked together as a squad. Like, they've been together for some time. So Polar Man starts building these ice column to hold up the train, and Element Man is immediately there, changing it into something much stronger. And it was a great combination of power, showing a seasoning. If you're jumping that far in the future, to make it seem like they're a newer team just doesn't work. That worked really well.
Yeah, and Element Lad's abilities are just really, really neat in the grand scale of part of that whole Legion. I mean, if you start looking at it, he's almost like Molecule Man in the Marvel universe. That's like his power set's one that could be completely taken if you put on the scale what he could do, what he could make adjustments to, how he could operate. I mean, honestly, he didn't need Polar Boy's columns. It just made things easier. He could have just changed to air into iron if he wanted to. Early Firestorm kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
The mystery of who this person is was something that was really well handled in this. Like, even when he first starts doing the confrontations, the hood being over him just kind of added a sense of mystery to the whole thing that I really liked. This is a revenge story. It's very clear that this has got an axe to grind with the Legion. This has been ongoing for quite some time. And the way that he breaks in and kind of keeps everyone from knowing who this actually is was a good thing. And I do enjoy stories where clues along the way are picked up by some of the heroes, and they're giving you the wink of the we know who it is right now, but they don't really tell you. And I like that whole interplay that was happening there, where the superheroes feel a little bit ahead of us.
Yeah. It was one of those, I had only been spoiled on this because it was either in Final Night or something else where they had mentioned that Ferro Lad had a brother.
Right.
And that's the only reason why I had an idea who this was. Yeah, they do a lot of the wink and nod, but you had no idea that there was a sibling for that family. So who is this? Why is there an issue? And the fact that we find out why he's angry is another adjustment to it as well. So we find out that Ferro Lad's got a brother. He's got the same power set. He's got the same mutant ability. And that he's being controlled.
Now, one of the things I loved in this first combat, they kind of give us an explanation as to why he's able to take down the Legion. One, it's been a while. They're not active. But two, he came prepared for them.
Sure.
Took out the power. He had the night vision, the infrared glasses. He had the mask. It wasn't just a mask. It also was a sheath for Saturn Woman's power. So he came prepared for them. Though I did chuckle a little bit when he's going to kill, when he said he's going to kill Saturn Woman, only if you promise to let me go. Like, you promise, and then you hit him as he's leaving.
Well, I do like the editor's note regarding magnetism and heat.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's why. Now, of course, we're coming up with more kryptonite, all that kryptonite that got stored in the 30th century. Yeah.
It's on eBay. It's plentiful. It's very easy to get it now. The review, when Superman starts to figure out who it is and he tells Cosmic Man, the leader, I like that they recognize they're somehow likely being monitored and they can't tell anyone. His confrontation with Brainiac 5, where he can't tell him what's going on, I actually really liked the maturity of Shooter recognizing that former leaders, a leader and former leader, would butt heads a little bit because of the fact that one is used to taking the lead. The other one's used to taking the lead. That is a very natural dynamic, and it was very well written.
In charge anymore.
Yes.
It's very hard not to be in charge anymore. It's very hard to, it's very much a Captain Kirk and Generations kind of thing. You can't look, you guys gotta hold that thought. You can't undermine the current leadership team. you're hoping that they'll talk to you and try to get some suggestions out of you. But still, yeah.
It is very Star Trek too, where Kirk is on the bridge originally. Oh, yeah. He's not the captain. And you can see that he's on his ship and wants to be there. And this is very much that vibe. And I loved how it was just very, very well written. And an understanding of how the characters would naturally react off of that. That's something, the drama between the Legion, the inner and the three-dimensional reality of who they are.
Is they elect their leaders.
Yes.
So they do talk in the 80s during the Levitz run about popularity contests and who's getting elected and why certain leaders or certain members lose their seat. And that's even covered in 5 years the 5 year later run of those that were upset that they never got elected leader and how they handled it as adults. So
I do like the fact that he came so prepared with just even things like the rubber chains to keep Lightning Man busy. The Cosmic Boy Superman switch. And what they did, our Cosmic Man Superman switch that they did, I thought was super cool. It was a very cool idea. It made sense in how they were doing it, and that they were recognizing this is a villain that knows what's going on, and the only way we're possibly to be able to make this work is if we make this villain think that we are the opposite. So that we can handle it. It worked out. We are the opposing person. It was a really good plan. I want to know where they keep Superman masks so readily available.
Spares. They're next to the kryptonite.
Yeah.
There's a few in the Flash Museum.
Yes.
That's why they say they never really talk about where Superman is in the 30th century. Because we've sort of defined that. Does he? We really don't discuss that until Alan Moore talks about whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. That they really don't discuss that Superman doesn't have an issue with, he doesn't know what happened
to himself.
Him. Yeah. They've got the Superboy Museum. They got all that stuff, but it's and Superman very seldom goes to the future as an adult. I honestly, outside the Jeff Johns run, Superman's always in the future as Superboy, not as Superman. So this is really unique, this storyline.
Well, and we're so used to the concept that Superman is potentially could live a very, very, if not forever, a very, very long time. That was not the concept here at all. And it was left very nebulous. And I like that. I like the mystery behind it. But you're right. My temptation would be, after a certain number of trips, would be like, well, what does happen to me?
Yeah, what does happen? Yeah. Where's the sports almanac? Let's take a look, see.
Ferro Man kind of coming back into his own after they capture him and recognizing that he's somehow been manipulated was something that it was cool. Again, this is another issue that's building to a cliffhanger. And there's the Legion of Supervillains and seeing them take a place in this piece. I take it so for granted that stories are multi-part. We're used to, you're not getting all 1 and 2 issue. We're getting typically stories are 5 issues long at least.
Yeah, the trade paperback run.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've wrapped this up at This is a 30-minute episode. We've wrapped it up at the end of the issue.
Right.
I do like the fact that high school bullying still happens in the 30th century.
Yes.
Yeah. And we still got big bows. So those are important things.
Yes, exactly. Because fashion trends do apparently keep coming back.
Yeah,
even when they shouldn't.
Trend. Yeah, it's a cyclical trend. We're back to big bows again. I had forgotten that the Legion of Supervillains operated because their secret base is underneath the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah,
or what's left of the Atlantic Ocean at the time. So, but yeah, I'm trying to figure out why the decision to make Ferro Lad's brother being manipulated by Saturn Queen versus him just being angry brother. Oh, because we don't see him join the Legion later on. It wasn't, were they trying to leave a spot open? Did they not want to have that type of baggage? It's like, Why? Because it's very much, we don't talk about Legion of super villains until the very end. Last 3 panels. There's no real hint that he's being really controlled. Well, outside of Saturn Girl mind reading him, but
so I'm
decision to go that way.
I'm looking at the next issue, 355, in this collected version. It's so interesting on how things are on the DC app. What issues are there? Because not all these issues are available there. Some of them.
Oh, they're not. Okay.
So, like the issue that we just covered this one is not. And 355. So when you got like this 2-party, you'd think there would have been like a priority of getting those multi-parts together. And they keep adding stuff all the time. But it would be nice to eventually have a full Adventure Comics run there. You are able to get this in this volume if you find it, or in the Omnibus. The second volume of the Omnibus is out of print and very hard to find. You can find it on eBay right now, like if you're going to get it, but it's a price. I mean, you're paying like a good 200 plus for it if you're trying.
I actually wonder if this is going to be reprinted at DC's Finest.
I hope so.
Because, I mean, honestly, this storyline hasn't been reprinted since this Treasury edition.
Yeah.
I mean, the Omnibus is just collecting runs, but versus an actual, these are these issues. Yeah.
I always hope that when they start like new current series, they go back and give us some of the older stuff again and all that kind of stuff. That if there's an interest in the current stuff, maybe we'll get something from the past.
I'm hoping that DC's Finest is doing well. It seems to be, because they see, I mean, I guess where I should say it seems to be is we keep getting a larger variety of stories, which I like that they aren't sticking to just Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. They're going to they've released a horror release. They're going to some very unique areas with that. And I hope those are doing just as well as the ones with the more commonly known characters, because the price point's great and it's a good jump on point. They're doing those in those smaller digest versions.
Right. I bought
comics.
I bought one for my daughter. I can't remember which one it was. I haven't bought him because I own them in some other format. I either own them in Omnibus or trade, or I own a lot of that stuff. Like I own the Swamp Thing, the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run in the same Treasury edition that we're looking at here. They made that run, and some of that early George Perez Silver Age Justice League stuff. I had that, but I was looking at some of those going, okay, and they're good price because Marvel was doing that. Like I bought my daughter the She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, Spider-Gwen, that same size, same form factor of those characters for her, just because she beats them up, no big deal, grand scheme of things.
Yeah, that's what's nice about those. They're good readers' copies.
Right. I used to buy my graded comics from a guy, and he always included a reader with every graded copy.
Yeah.
So that that's the problem with slabbed books. Can't really read them.
I love what they did with the two unique characters to this particular story. We've got them on that splash page in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Relax, pals, we're here to help you. And I like that they're just do this kind of, to help whom though? Are you here for the good guys? Are you here for the bad guys?
Right, yeah.
And I love who they are. I love where this story's going with them. And actually, it adds a little layer to Superman leaving. Because he's of course got to go back home. And there's nothing more I can do here, and I have to work waiting for me in my own time. And I guess it is the San Dimas as far as
the San Dimas, the San Dimas thing. And I was completely I had not read this because, like, when I read this Treasury edition, I ended with the death of Ferro Lad. I didn't read any of the other stuff afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read this for this recording, I was like, oh, is that who that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Really caught me off guard. So
yeah, here's the thing. Again, of the three of us, I have the least experience with Legion, and I have a vague understanding of the Legion of evil supervillains or Legion of supervillains, whatever they're called.
Just supervillains.
Legion of supervillains. But I did like how you're able to easily follow who they are and what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's something that, again, I can imagine back in the day, So when this is first coming out, there's always going to be new readers jumping on.
Yeah,
there's always going to be this is their first Legion story.
Yeah.
So they're explaining it right away, and you're completely in the groove of who these villains are. There's no mystery. There's no hang-ups on, oh, what's going on here? I'm confused. No, you're pretty solid on what the story is, what you're dealing with. And I do enjoy that. And I did chuckle with how time travel is so frequent. They have their own little time travel lanes, and it's...
Oh, man, those Legion time bubbles are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to watch some Rip Hunter and a Legion time bubble, or doesn't Booster get one in 52? Yeah. Booster with Legion time bubble was one of my personal favorites. But yeah, the Cosmic Boy Legends crossover when he gets stuck in the time dilation and gets stuck in the rivers of time. It's like, okay, yeah, it's really, and this Legion of Superheroes is really the only future team we have.
Right.
It's not like DC 1 million, all that kind of crazy stuff, but it's like here during this period, that was it. That was the future team, was the Legion of Superheroes. There wasn't any other real far-flung 1,000 years into the future kind of stuff.
Your question for you both, was there a Luthor in this time period?
No, there's descendants of Luthor that come up in the Levitz run in the early 80s. I'm trying to remember if there's any other descendants. There's descendants of some, and when the Flash had his own future offshoot that had Eobard, and all those, where he goes into the future after the trial. And where he is when Crisis starts. So, yeah, there is a Luthor descendant later on in the late 70s and early 80s. But that's also when Supergirl's with the Legion of Superheroes and Superboy's the Legion of Superheroes and Mon-El. And it's like anybody that could time travel is basically there in the Legion. And we're not even talking Legionnaires and any of the other crazy offshoots that happen later on. So
it's to the point, Jim, of what you were saying as far as an introductory point for everybody. I think it benefited in this story in particular because it is telling so much history here, right, and filling in so many things. Because really, for us as readers, this was a jump. We went from what we were dealing with the current age Superboy and the Legion to this, and we're still dealing with this massive jump to the future of the adult Legion. And, right. And they're
double whammy.
Yeah, it really was a very good choice. I would love to have been in Shooter's head as far as what made you decide to do this. Like after the death of Ferro Lad, hey, why don't we go wacky and go really far down the line and see what the Legion's doing afterwards? And did this happen to anybody else? And what did that look like? And we'll get them attacked by Ferro Man and do all of these fun pieces. It was cool. I did like seeing the future version of the Legion of supervillains and seeing what was going on with them and the relationship with the brothers, but also the fact that Legion is again showing more of their experience, because even as they're falling into these traps, and the supervillains are too, though, because the supervillains are well aware of the fact that, hey, these guys are going to be coming at us. They've got more experience. So let's do a real swerve here. We're going to have them go up against us, quote unquote, go up against us first, tire them out, then we'll really hit them. It was a great plan.
I like the idea too. Again, it's the trap. Oh, it's a double trap. Yeah. I thought that was a neat little concept to have. Okay, when they first give them the envelopes telling them meet at these spots, right, like, okay, it's a trap, folks. And then they defeat the villains, and then that leads to the second trap. And I thought that was a cool story element.
I do love this idea of this future version and seeing like even the two brothers, I Lightning Lad or Lightning Man and Lightning Lord, seeing their battle. And I love seeing the cunning of Lightning Man, where he's really looks like he's being overtaken. And I love that this whole thing was the supervillains wanted them to think that they outsmarted them.
Yeah,
that is when you reread it again, knowing what's going on here, the supervillains were brilliant in this. They set up each and every Legionnaire so that way they had a real trial where they felt like they were going to lose, and they each overcame it, which was great for us as a reader. We're feeling the same thing, like, hoorah, way to go, Legion. Look at how far you've come, when in the end, they were destined to all think that they won.
Right.
Even Element Man, when we were talking about his piece, I thought that was super cool, where he was set in a situation with Cosmic King where there was a bomb sitting right there, and he knew to change the element to one that would negate the bomb. Right. And I loved the way that all played out. It was a great use of the page to kind of enhance and show how cool his powers are, and also what he's got going on upstairs. I thought it was just a great tease, and they did such a cool job of swerving me. I gotta admit, I was totally swerved by that. Yeah. I told you, the Legion's winning this. I'm like, where is this going? This is really cool. What was with those two guys in the beginning?
Right.
And,
yeah.
And I loved how that just played out. It was a brilliant, layered way of taking you further into the story and making you think one thing. That's the part where I'm like, wow, this kid at this age was doing this kind of stuff. Super cool. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, one of the funny things, when I was initially, the first read through, I'm going, he's leaving the evidence to him. Like, oh man, I was just thinking it's a Silver Age story. It's a story written by a kid. I wasn't thinking that the villains were doing that intentionally. And they were doing it as a second trap. So that was something I was like, when I realized, like, oh, they swerved me. I'm like, outstanding. Yeah. And that made you enjoy it even, and again, it makes you appreciate the writing skills back then. That, I'm sitting there reading and thinking, oh, okay, it's just a Silver Age story. Oh, the bad guy's got a little note on him that'll lead you right to where the hero is. I'm like, and
it's like we're expecting a basic story.
Yeah.
Jim thinks that we're expecting a basic story that any other Silver Age book would have given us, and now he's just putting his own spin on that whole piece. It makes you wonder what he was reading or what he was watching at this point. What were his influences? Was he reading Doyle? What was he watching during that time frame?
Oh God, yeah.
For him to get an idea of this. Because somebody had to come up with it first, and I'll give him all credit, but I have a feeling that there was some type of influence that sent him in this direction.
I love that he was clearly having fun with it.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, that vibe comes through. He just, as he was scripting this out and just thinking through, and there has to be something to being able to do the layouts yourself and seeing what this is visually doing. Because obviously he's clearly a visual writer because he's able to do that and approaches comics from that fashion. That part plays out so well in this. I love Brainiac being inside. Brainiac 5 is trapped inside that bubble, and they're basically saying, he knows what's going on, fellas, you're trapped. And I loved that reveal. I did not see where it was going with the descendant of Luther and Mixus.
Right, yeah.
Which I thought it was, at first I'm like, really? We're going to this? What an interesting choice. And they were dressed that way with lead-lined suits because they were afraid Superman was going to be there and they wouldn't be accepted.
Right, yeah.
The suits had a storytelling reason and purpose to them. Everything they did was neat. And these are two guys who are like, listen, for us, all we're trying to do is say, yeah, I get some of our ancestors did some wacky stuff. That's not us. We want a chance to apply, help you out, maybe do something more. I do love the end story. It's like, it's too late. If I know my buddies, they've already accepted you in the Adult Legion unanimously. I love them for themselves as the Adult Legion, not just the Legion. We are the Adult Legion now.
Well, it kills me that Luther still hasn't found a solution to his baldness, 1,000 years later.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's we can give Lightning Man a new arm, but
yes.
we have not found the cure for baldness.
Yeah, we can't deal with Cosmic Man's male pattern baldness or Luther's complete cue ball here. Is that one of the many origin stories on why he hates Superman? Is because he was bald?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of them. Now, did they ever continue to use Luther and Mixoplex, or is this it?
No, I think this was it, because they end up using a different descendant, much more redheaded, in the Levitz run. And Alan Moore deals with Mixoplex much different in the Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow storyline. That's dark. It's a little dark, but that's Alan Moore. I mean, when is Alan Moore not dark? Yeah. But yeah, it was, and it's one of those. Okay, and where did Shooter go? Oh yeah, we need to put Luther and Mixoplex in here. Let's go. And yeah, it's okay.
It was neat. It was fun. I liked it. I mean,
Mixie's still wearing that same goofy outfit 1,000 years later. Works for him.
This collection, again, is one that I highly recommend seeking out. Once again, it's the DC Comics Classics Library, Legion of Superheroes, The Life and Death of Ferro Lad. Our last issue we're going to be talking about in this one is 357 of Adventure Comics.
We skipped 356. 356 was a filler.
Right.
Shooter did not write 356. So it was a filler issue. I'm not sure if it was because he was supposed to be, or somebody was late with their artwork. Part of me thinks this is one of the reasons why Shooter was such a taskmaster when it came to dates and deadlines when it gets to Marvel. But yeah, 356 is a filler, has absolutely nothing to do with the storyline. We're back to 357.
I read an article where they alluded to that. It was his younger experience where missing deadlines.
I'd be frustrated if I got my script in.
Yeah.
And there was something else that held back, I would be annoyed. I would really be annoyed that my stuff didn't make it to print on time. Now, Sean, you talked about your geek nitpicking earlier. Mm-hmm. This is where mine goes into full force, is in this issue.
With
and
the
we'll
ghost of
we get to it.
The ghost.
Oh, it goes to 11 on Nerd Rant. So
let's have some fun with this one. The one thing I was looking at the cover is, and I did not comment on this in some of the other ones, this was 12 cents.
Oh, did we go up?
It's
was 10 cents before?
Yeah, I don't know if it was 10 cents before. I can go back and take a look at that piece.
Oh no, it's 12 cents.
Yeah, okay, but what the reason why I'm referencing the 12 cents is if you take 12 cents is what a comic cost.
Well, don't maybe go look up how much 12 cents would buy in 2020 $5.
Yeah.
It's probably $6.99.
Yeah. Right. This is an interesting story, the ghost of Ferro Lad, and really how the team's haunted by this. This is an interesting jump too, because they went to the far future, and now they're coming back to more of the present day for the Legion.
Yeah, and the ghost of Ferro Lad could have told him he had a brother.
Right.
By the by, I got a brother. He might get ticked off later.
Well, apparently
put this note in your pocket when the Libyans get you. So
I do like that he's exploring the concept of the toll of death on people, that there is some form of, it's because really when you take a look at the original issue of the death of Ferro Lad, it's pretty anticlimactic as far as the reaction. It's like this guy died and it was no big deal. I'm glad that he came back after doing his far future storyline and said, I got to have some kind of reaction of this death. This death has to mean something, and this is going to have an impact. I actually think that part of this issue is very effective as far as they're haunted by this. And
I love the fact that they put Superboy in a spacesuit and they explain why. Because that's one of the things when I first saw it, I'm like, why is Superboy in a spacesuit? But again, sound doesn't travel through space. They do not hear you scream in space. Mm-hmm. So the only way that that the other Legionnaires could hear him is if he was wearing a spacesuit and he could have radio transmission between all of them. I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
And he's done that. He did that before, back a bunch of issues when Ferro Lad was rescuing Amano.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because they put a little editor's note about that he had a radio in his mask so they could hear him. So again, Yeah, that's something that's a consistency that we get from him and from his writing. So that's awesome. I like seeing consistency.
This Superboy bit where Superboy's reflecting on what happened. Not only do they do a great job of bringing you, like, for anybody who didn't get a chance to read that issue, we're going to bring you up to speed on what actually happened to Ferro Lad. But I love that they take it one step further, where Superboy's sitting here. I couldn't stop him. Or could I? Did I subconsciously fear the Sun Eater? So much that I let poor Ferro Lad overpower me only to doom himself doing my job. And right. I love these, like, I'm Superboy. This is my job. I should have done this. And I love that that is the part where he's questioning himself, questioning what happened and his own role. Survivor's guilt. Which right. is, I mean, for that mature concept to be explored in this way, I thought that was really solid.
Oh, and Jessica Rose, this is Superboy's first real experience with superhero death.
Yeah.
It's where do we go? Now, I don't have my midlife crisis glasses on, but when they're on the satellite, are there any other legible names in the background? Because again, we really haven't seen anybody else. We mentioned some of those other Legionnaires that we never hear about again in the statues, but I'm not sure if there's anybody in the back or any of the names in the background here on the satellite.
Yeah, I can't tell.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was, but I was like trying to. My arms aren't long enough to be able to.
Kalkef?
Yeah.
Kalkaf? It looks like is the one that's in the background behind him. I'm zooming. What I'm doing is I'm taking my phone and pulling.
Oh yeah,
the camera and doing a cheat. This is my cheaters. Yeah. And zooming in, that's the only name I'm seeing anywhere because they're approaching in the other one.
Right.
His particular one, that's the only other one with a name that I'm seeing. And I don't know the significance of that one. Or if you're not meant to see it and I'm just shouting out gibberish.
One of the things that Sean, you mentioned, and again, it's interesting, survivor's guilt. That's something that we talk about nowadays, very prevalent. Back then, that wasn't a concept.
No.
And post-traumatic stress disorder, none of that was a concept. These are common phrases that we say nowadays, but back then it wasn't even thought of. There have been like some classic, especially like with military and with police where, people have been labeled a coward because of situations like this. Whereas nowadays people are like, no, they're not a coward. This is a real thing that he can work through, that we got to work with him on. And it's the true supporting of your team. So the fact that we're seeing this again from Superboy, the fact that we're getting this level of guilt on this survivor's guilt and this explanation and this breakdown from Superboy is actually a really neat concept. Again, it's another neat thing that he came up with at such a young age.
When we see Cosmic Boy, kind of enjoying the time home with his family, and they're playing that Magno Ball, I thought that was cool. But the part that really struck me is, what does he do in his downtime? He's hanging with Superboy now. But what we're going to do during our downtime is we are going to listen to music tapes from the Broadway play of Superman from 1966.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
He's geeking out and fanboying out over Superman tapes.
Right.
I do like that his parents are worried about him. Why he's watching the Ultra Viewer and he should be out like thinking about girls and doing some of the normal stuff. I love that they're talking about him like just parents do, right? We want our kid to be well-rounded and all that kind of stuff. It's very much a sign of the times and like trying to fit in what parents would be. I wonder how much what Shooter was tapping into in order to kind of get those familial experiences.
You wonder if while he's writing these stories, his parents are like, he should be out playing with his friends. He shouldn't be writing these stupid stories. He's writing funny books. Come on. He needs to get out there, meet a nice girl,
The dreams that they all start having with Ferro Lad was really interesting. And how the dreams were starting to blend into reality. Cosmic Boy is having his own nightmares, and Superboy is having living nightmares where he's being attacked again by kryptonite, which is readily available
in the 30th century.
Yes, even if you're dealing with potential dreams that are coming to life, kryptonite's just being thrown around because it's just easy to pull off the shelf. What is your so? Have we gotten to your nitpick, or where's your?
Oh no, that's in the next scene after everybody's gotten back together and they figure that it's Ferro Lad after the message.
Yeah,
it's Superboy not believing in ghosts. All right, so we know we've got Zatara, we got Zatanna, we've got Dead Man, all these characters. Superboy knows the supernatural world exists. Why would he not believe in ghosts? It's like we mentioned off mic last week. Mr. Terrific in Final Crisis says that he's an atheist.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Terrific saying he's an atheist in the DC universe is like someone saying that they're a flat earther in our It's like he has hung out with angels.
Right.
In the Justice League. He has seen the voice of God personified in speaking to him as a member of the Justice Society of America. How you can be an atheist after that, I don't know. I just one of those, you have to completely block it out. And the same thing here. Superboy doesn't believe in ghosts, even though he has interacted with characters that know that there's a supernatural plane of existence, that these things happen. It's very much, why would he believe that? And it's really easy for a shooter to say in the 60s, yeah, I don't believe in ghosts. And that's a very easy throwaway. But it starts getting into those continuity pieces of, hey, you've dealt with this before. You can't not believe in it. Come on. Unless you're getting really, really selective memory. But that was always, anytime I see a DC hero in a book basically say that they don't believe in the supernatural, I just call foul. And I remember my wife, my girlfriend at the time, that issue of the Final Crisis, Mark of Cain, I think it was, when Terrific states that, I just was like, had the book in my hand, threw it on the floor. I mean, it was nerd rage. I was peak at 11, and my wife had no idea what I was annoyed with.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. Let me defend Superboy in this comment. One, this is Superboy, not Superman, so he hasn't had those.
I had to go look back and see where some of those, Superboy had, because he's already dealt with magic, okay, with Lori. Oh, he's dealt with mermaids. Oh, he's already dealt with all kinds of stuff prior to Legion of Superheroes. So he knows that there's magic. He knows there's supernatural. Oh, it's one of those that he knows there's something beyond science at this point. Because I went the same way, Jim. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm being overcritical. And then I had to go look and going, okay, what was Lana doing? What was Lori doing? What was he doing in Smallville? The fact that he's hanging out with mermaids in Smallville, just come on.
Okay.
I wonder if too, like, we're dealing with an era where what would an editorial look like?
Right.
And what did they do with the script and how
early continuity? I mean, I think we're still before Crisis on Earth 2.
Right.
I mean, we are post Flash 123. Mm-hmm. So we have set forth multiple Earths, but we haven't gotten really deep into what continuity is and how that all works out. Because, of course, there's no Superboy in the Golden Age. So there's no Earth 2 Superboy.
The way that this builds and with what's going on, they're being messed with. And it's really great to see that keeps escalating. Like, it started off as dreams and then physical realities and happening. And then when the message is finally posted, it's again all about kicking up this gradual, like, we're buying into it a little bit more each time. And what was effective is the villain of the story planning this out as a longer term, like, let's really mess with them.
Yeah, he's got the long con going.
Yeah, especially with that, when that posting's up there, each time I come, I get stronger. First as a thought, then as a dream, now a force. Soon I will draw you out with the iron symbol in there. Totally making them feel that it's Ferro Lad. And so to the point when Brainiac 5 and Saturn Girl show up, they're ready to basically bring them along. Like, you guys have got to understand this is what's happening here. We totally believe it now. We've experienced too much. We're going to convince you and bring you along for the ride. It was really well played out that you get why they're in that place.
And again, I loved multiple swerves that are getting played here.
Yeah.
Because as I'm going through reading this, I'm thinking, okay, they're doing a ghost thing. All right, cool. And I was buying into it completely, that I wasn't thinking an outside force pretending to be Ferro Lad. I wasn't thinking this. Yeah.
Is doing the seance.
That seance had me 100% pulled in. This was a really great way to do it, because with each encounter, as you said, Sean, he was getting stronger. He was getting more powerful. And I love the fact that they're talking, do we trap or kill him? No, we've got to communicate. Because ghosts only become violent if they've been wrong. So we got to talk to him, help them along. And again, I love how they're thinking this process. And you get the princess doing the medium and pulling it in and actually having a conversation with Ferro Lad. I love that they were doing this.
The events that are going on, we see as the readers a lot of times when Brainiac's there, we kind of see what he's seeing from his perspective, that they're looking at nothing. Like, they're having this reaction. He's not seeing it. When the ghost attacks them and we get to see them flailing around. And I love the page where Brainiac is shining the light on them. Help you with what? I can't see a thing. Like, what is going on? I like that we see them flailing around to nothing. There isn't some giant that's doing it. And Saturn Girl getting in their heads. And seeing
that's a presence.
Yes.
A presence.
It was such a cool way to play this out. And Brainiac coming back afterwards, especially after Saturn Girl's affirmation of there's some presence here. It leaves him in this place where I don't know what to believe. I saw you guys flopping around like lunatics. There's nothing doing. I get that she says there's a thing here. What do I do with this? And I really loved the reality of that. It added more to the mystery. It gave you a sense of, as a reader, am I believing them that something's really going on? Or am I with Brainiac and feeling like they're somehow getting messed with? And I didn't know, like my first read through, I didn't know where this, because I'd never read this story before. I didn't know where this was going. And I liked that. I really enjoyed the not knowing which Legionnaire I should be riding along with on this one. It just added more of a sense. I mean, it's really strong writing. Superboy, and with the whole acting leader thing and sitting around the table with the whole team, just kind of playing this whole play, doing like this seance kind of thing to get the presence of Brainiac. I'm sorry, Ferro Lad there was something that I thought was really cool, because now how does Brainiac dispute this?
Right.
Yeah. And really this is all about getting the Legion to disband, because of the fact that there was some affront. You guys wronged me. And again, playing off of the survivor's guilt, you all need to disband over this piece.
Some guilt. Yeah. Some guilt going on. How well can we pressure this in?
But to the point that they're sending out an all call, which there's a whole bunch of Legionnaires that had nothing to do with this. But guess what, guys? Because we let this happen to Ferro Lad, you all got to pay for it. Everybody's disbanded
everything.
Luckily, everybody's wearing their rings this time.
Yes.
So they get
for once. Yes.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a shame.
Yeah.
To find out later, we disbanded. I should have had my ring out. Oh, I knew.
I cashed my severance check and everything. Come on.
I did like the reveal of the real villain that was played.
Yeah.
The controller.
A controller. So I did not realize Jim Shooter created the controllers.
Yeah.
I have been a big fan of the controllers ever since their appearance in history of the first history of the DC universe with Wolfman Perez. The controllers and the Dark Stars. I don't know if you guys read Dark Stars.
Yes.
That was the fact that there was a another. So you had at this point only the Owens, the Controllers, and the Zamorak, and they were all from Oa, and that the Controllers wanted to control and stop evil, and the Owens wanted to police evil, and the Zamorans wanted to do their thing. So the fact that this is the Controller's first appearances in this book, which I was like, oh, shooter. I'm like, I had to go and look and go, oh, this is a first appearance of the Controllers. So we've got a major DC creation that would end up touching on books later on being created by Shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And now they don't allude to his Owen. That's a retcon later on, his Owen heritage. But the fact that we've got this high power level villain.
Yeah.
Because the Controllers they're very nebulous. No, they're not good. They're not evil. They're controlling. It matters where you sit on the spectrum of how much you like your life controlled, where you think they need to be. And, the Dark Stars really play that off when the Dark Stars and the Green Lantern Corps are going back and forth. Donna Troy was a Dark Star, and I was trying to remember, was she dating Kyle Rayner when he was a Dark Star, or was that after the two of them were dating? Because her and Kyle dated for a short while.
But I thought at that point in time he was still a Green Lantern when they were dating.
Okay, but was she a Dark Star when they were dating? Because that would have been a little bit more of a problem.
Yeah,
because she becomes a Dark Star because they didn't know what to do with her at that time. That was post Team Titans and all the other craziness that was going on. So like, okay, how do we keep Donna Troy in the mix? Oh, we'll make her a Dark Star.
I'm trying to remember if she was a Dark Star when they were dating. I know when they were dating, he was Green Lantern. I knew that was that's the first.
Yeah. But yeah, it would have made small talk a little bit harder when you're working for another operation.
The Controller's piece over this and what he was trying to do as far as like gathering the Legion as a force and controlling the Legion as a force through the manipulation was really well done. I loved the twisting mustache kind of explanation of what was done.
We got a nice villain rant, but to be honest with you, it was a villain rant that we needed, because I really needed an explanation as to why he picked up Superboy.
It's a first appearance too. Yeah. So none of us don't know. I mean, well, we're reading it now, but this was the first appearance of the Controllers. So we need to know what their reasoning is and why they're doing it and the whole nines.
Because if the goal was just to get the Legion to disband, they did that, and they should never have picked up Superboy. They should have let him go back to the past, and they would have won.
Right.
But it wasn't just get them to disband. They needed Superboy as part of their plan. So again, it's an explanation as to why we get the great villainous rant. And this was talk about an epic villainous rant. This is multiple pages, but as you said, Ken, this is the origin of these people. So they needed that couple pages to actually say who they are, what they're about, explain how are they able to control Superboy. Well, they're this nearly omnipotent powered race. So yeah, he would have the power to control Superboy.
I would never take off my Legion ring again after this.
Oh yeah. I started
because I'm like, why would you not wear that all the time? Because really, the only reason why Superboy survived all of this is because of the fact that he was wearing that Legion ring, and the rest of them, like, they came there because of the Tracer, and then, but they didn't just come there. They came there with their morale restored to peak levels. There's no way he could possibly defeat them now. They're at peak proficiency. I love that.
They low-jacked Superboy, so they knew it was going to be. And we don't know how the ring gets turned on.
Yes.
Or do we?
Yeah, or
come on, we know, come on, it's the ghost of Ferro Lad. One last run as a Legionnaire. He saves the Legion once again.
I liked that. I thought that was I thought that was a cool ending. I like that it was just the ghost of Ferro Lad. And I'm with you. I feel like the story is it was Ferro Lad. It was Ferro Lad walking out at the end and probably taking an offense to the fact that you used me against my team. Well, I'll take one last act of helping them out. I thought that was really, really well done. That was a good choice. If you're going to do a kooky ghost story like this, to kind of go that route with it at the end was kind of a neat thing, and a wink and a nod to the readers.
Yeah.
Because we'd be the only ones that would know.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
This was a good story. All of this together was a good story. It really holds up. There's some stuff when you get into the Silver Age that you have to like trudge through dialogue. And it's not to say that they aren't good stories. They are good stories, but it feels dated. This did not.
No, Jim doesn't use a lot of vernacular in here, which is very common if you try to read the Teen Titans stuff from this period, which is same age group.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, there's even the 70s Titan stuff. Bad. But he doesn't use any of that. He treats the characters like they would be as that juniors, seniors in high school. They're superheroes and they got a place to hang out. That's about the only thing we're missing is high school drama. But
the strength of this is the fact that he's that age.
Yeah, he's like young. He's still a little young. It's like, what do you think teenagers go through when you're entering puberty, and then what you realize what teenagers go through when you're middle aged, going, okay, that wasn't the crisis I thought it was.
I really like that he managed to capture that and did not have that dated dialogue. It's funny how almost some of the other writers should have read some of his work and been like, right, well, this is a kid that age and that's how he's saying kids should talk. Maybe we should take a look at some of that and be a little more in touch.
Yeah, if I was to, even some of the Justice League stuff from the 60s and Superman, even, I mean, some of that, It's as we mentioned earlier in the previous episode, a lot of the Silver Age was all about the cover doesn't match the story.
Yeah.
The stories are a lot of one shots. There's not really overarching work. I mean, that starts happening in the mid 70s. And we start looking at what DC did early on when they were, I realized Marvel doesn't kick in until Fantastic Four.
Right.
And that's 66, right? Is it 67? Yeah. I mean, they start looking at when Marvel decides to make that adjustment, and they still, as well as shooters doing writing teenagers, it's still not going to be at the same level that we're going to see Stan and Ditko do later on with Spider-Man. And the Legion of Superheroes was very much a book that could relate. It's a bunch of Robins.
Fantastic Four was 1961.
Oh, 61. Okay, so the Legion of Superheroes it's just a bunch of Robins. I mean, it's a team full of kids that the readers can relate to.
Yeah.
And it works on that level. There's a reason why the Legion of Superheroes was so popular for so long and could be rebooted over and over and over again by different writing teams and still be that way and still evolve to 5 years later, the Mark Waid. I mean, a lot of those. And even if you go back and you read Legion of Three Worlds, you can still see a lot of those foundations that were created by Shooter in these types of stories. So, Final Nights, the next time we'll see Ferro Lad in any real, and I mean, we're talking 20 years later.
Right.
Before we really see, and he stayed dead. It was a shot. I mean, he stayed dead. And in comic books during that period, that was something that you didn't see very often.
And really, in Final Night, it really could be argued that was a deep cut.
Oh, yeah.
When you take a look at it, because at that point, yes, he died way back when, but it wasn't one of those characters that died and came back. Right. And like you saw him over and over again. He comes in as kind of a deep cut. I loved that they did something like that.
And that's another swerve there, because in Final Night, as soon as you see Ferro Lad and the Sun Eater and the Legion, Ferro Lad's going to die again. Yeah. I mean, that was the assumption. Ferro Lad's eating it again. Little did we know that Hal Jordan would step in and cold cock Ferro Lad and save the day. It just, when reading Final Night, I was shocked. I was really shocked that Ferro Lad didn't die.
Yeah.
And that was a nice surprise after the kind of BS we had to deal with Armageddon 1999 and some of the other storylines that had to completely shift because somebody had figured it out on the early internet. And Final Night, there's a few books that have real strong emotional reactions, and Final Night's one. Crisis on Infinite Earths 8, Crisis on Infinite Earths 9, a Final Night, even some of the stuff in the Kevin Smith run of Green Arrow. Yeah, there's a few books that really tug on the heartstrings, especially if you've known those characters for quite a while. I mean, there's a great Crisis crossover with Supergirl where she's got to deal with the fact, or Brainiac 5's got to deal with the fact Supergirl died.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the last pre-Crisis Legion of Superheroes story. And if you haven't read, Jim, if you haven't read the Death of Superboy run that was during the Baxter era with John Byrne, Superman, where they have to deal with, there is no Superboy in the current continuity. How are we going to deal with Superboy? Which then runs into 5 years later. But yeah, that's another one. That's another one where I was just like, I read that over again, and it's just one of those, how they take and deal with Superboy and how the Legion of Superheroes deals with the death of their foundational member and realizing there isn't one. How did we get to this point? And how Time Trapper and Mon-El and all that figures into the grand scheme of things. So,
and it's the early days of doing timey-wimey stuff like that.
Right. Well, they had to still deal with, and we talked that Legends sort of deals with what happens post-Crisis. Because that's the Cosmic Boy miniseries is a Legends, the entire miniseries is a Legends crossover.
Yeah.
Because it's like Cosmic Boy is traveling back in time when the timeline gets reset and doesn't know what to do. And how's Time Trapper kept Superboy in a pocket universe? And because he has to keep the Legions, we find that Time Trapper has to keep the Legion of Superheroes around because the Legion of Superheroes doesn't exist. The Mordu will win the Magic War and take over the universe. So the Time Trapper has to keep the Legion around somehow so that they can act as a preventive measure against Mordu, because Time Trapper can't take over at the end of time if Mordu's there instead. So these guys, Dick Giordano talks in his book about how they wanted to do Crisis and how they wanted to do the reset. And the problem was there was too much money.
Yeah.
Too much money. And too much that they could not just reset everything, give everything a number one again. And we get the reboot, we get the John Byrne Superman, that kind of stuff. But still, they had to deal with what were the repercussions. So the biggest repercussion was no Superboy. Because that was a discussion when they rebooted Man of Steel. What are we going to do with everything? Because the Legion doesn't exist without Superboy. It does not. There is no Legion without Superboy. So, and I love how 5 years later deals with that completely and rolling into Invasion. So yeah, I mean, Legends is the next is a big piece of how the Legion of Superheroes operates post Crisis. So I know we've talked about that.
We'll have to come back and do a couple episodes on Legends, because I think Legends is an interesting story to talk about foundationally for DC and what they were trying to do. I mean, it was a pretty pivotal thing. I remember I haven't read it in years. I want to read it again.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think it would be just really cool to read it now. Because I remember when it came out, I was blown away. I mean, I just think what they were doing at the time was really interesting. And it wasn't something I experienced. We're used to that kind of thing now being regular. Like, okay, we're gonna screw around with continuity and that type of thing. What they did back then was revolutionary at the time.
They ended the Justice League of America comic.
Yeah,
I mean, that's Detroit era Justice League, so it's not real strong Justice League, but still, now the fact that Justice League had a home in Detroit, of all places, they got rid of the satellite. And they decided to go back to the Detroit base. But that part of the Justice League, I think Martian Manhunter is really what's left, because even Aquaman left at that point.
Yeah.
Batman came back in 250, but he was gone by 255. And Legends deals with that, and the relaunch of Justice League International, or Justice League and then Justice League International. And G. Gordon Godfrey is still one of the best dark side lackeys
Yes.
that you can have out there. I just think it's hilarious that my 30th anniversary trade paperback, I think, is 15 years old now. So, yeah, that's like, hey.
Yeah.
I remember reading those in the car with my parents right off the shelf.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. In those early days, it's just after Dark Knight Returns and how DC was changing everything at that point. I haven't read Legends in 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So I need to sit down. Like I said, I've been rereading Salvation. I reread Salvation Run because of Peacemaker. If you guys haven't been watching Peacemaker, that's some good TV.
I love Peacemaker. Love Peacemaker.
Yeah. As someone who used to buy Peacemaker in the Charlton Action Team, it's really, really crazy to actually see high budget TV
around Peacemaker.
I'm waiting for some Ted Cord Blue Beetle while we're at it too. So, but yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, that's something we need to sit down. We had talked Teen Titans, X-Men at some point. Yeah, there's. I'd like to
do both of those.
Yeah, that now that all that stuff being reprinted, I never thought DC and Marvel would get to a point that they were willing to reprint that stuff. But being in the crossover omnibus and us getting the Treasury edition being reprinted, I remember searching for the Treasury edition of a Superman, Spider-Man.
I think we're going to see more. I think we're going to see more reprints coming in the coming year because of the fact that I think the Batman Deadpool stuff was a success, and now the interest in Superman Spider-Man. I love this. I hope we continue to get more of it, just because some of this material is really, really strong, and there's a whole new audience to read it.
Oh yeah, and people just don't even know. I mean, I don't know how many people have read any Walter Simonson X-Men. But you started looking at the only time Walter Simonson is X-Men Titans. I think I have an autographed copy of that book. I remember buying it as a kid going, I didn't even know this existed. Dark Side and Dark Phoenix. I mean, talk about some powerhouses at both sides of the aisle there. So,
Jim, have you read that one?
No.
Oh yeah. It's a good stuff. It's a really, really good stuff. And
you will. We're going to do that.
Yeah, Logan transforming into Lockheed is pretty good. So, going, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Because that period of the X-Men is a real good period of the X-Men, and that period of the Titans, that's pre-Baxter. So that's still newsprint Titan stuff. And it was printed on white paper when it was unique at the time. So, it was a beautiful book. And I don't think there's a whole lot of ads in it because I don't think they could figure out which one they could sell, who would sell the ad space. So I think they went without. But yeah, Darkseid's on the back cover. The back side of that book is almost as epic as the front side of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's one of those foldouts, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. It's got Darkseid and Dark Phoenix on the back cover. And it's got the Titans and it's got Robin, Grayson, and Scott Summers, Cyclops on the front.
Yeah.
So, and those two leaders, I mean, you can't really think of a better leaders of that point. Dick showing exactly how much of a team leader he is. I think Batman the Outsiders 5 is when he tells Batman to back off. I know how to lead teams you don't. So, yeah, that was a good crossover. I like it when Dick puts Bruce in his place. Doesn't happen very often. So, oh well, did we go another 3 hours?
Not quite. Not quite. But Ken, I want to thank you again as always. And is there anything you want to shout out before we wrap up today?
No, we always want to push my dad's book. My dad was hired by Walt in '56 to be first time Sawyer at Disneyland. He wrote a book. You can buy a copy at Walt Hired Me. I'm glad to be on the show. It's been a while since I've been on podcast recently. I will be in Portland running Wasabi Cons for Wasabi Anime on Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, I haven't seen the entire guest list for that yet, but that's available at wasabianime.com to see who we'll have there. But me, the wife, and my daughter, we're all going to be in Portland running that event, expecting another 2,000 to 3,000 people. So yeah.
That's awesome.
And we just had our Jacksonville event last weekend. So it was real. I think we pulled 6,000 unique noses on that.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
nice.
Yeah, so that's our biggest show is the one in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I have a blast doing that. And where the kid's already looking to get her K-pop Demon Hunter costume for GalaxyCon Columbus. Hope to see you there, Sean.
That's a for sure.
Down. Yeah, it's a great show. Mike Broder runs an awesome show in Columbus. We always make a point of driving from the greater Indianapolis area to go see him. My daughter has great interactions with that group. I think last year she decided to talk to Weird Al Yankovic about my copy of the Authorized Al. So yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love it. I'm glad I'm able to have these kinds of experiences with my child because my parents didn't give a damn about comics when I was growing up. Oh, we're taking you where? How much you want to spend on a copy of New Teen Titans? $10 for issue 1? No way.
That's where there's a nice evolution of how cons are nowadays.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something for everybody at cons. And if you're listening to this and you've never been to a convention, doesn't matter which one, do yourself a favor and give it a shot. Like, break on in. Whatever you think they are, it's so much more and so cool.
Yeah, people thought I used to run conventions and I used to own conventions, and people think that I would be over it at this point, but still make a point. VoltCon, the Voltron conventions here in Indianapolis coming weekend, and we're going to make a point of going. I went 2 years ago, learned way too many things about lions that combine into robots. Though I prefer vehicles that combine into robots. I'm a big Voltron 1 fan versus Voltron 3. But yeah, there's a convention niche for everybody. If it's not the big pop culture events, the anime events, it's the show events. You get these big shows like GalaxyCon, or you get the smaller shows like BoltCon. You always get something out of them.
Absolutely. Well, we'll reconvene again and do Legends, if that would be up your alley. I think we should.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, we'll talk and schedule something, because Jim hasn't had a chance to experience that yet, and then we'll do X-Men Titans after that, because I think we got the coming year that might be a fun one to do with Superman and Spider-Man coming out and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Talk about.
I'll be finding those Legends crossovers are going to be interesting. See, there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay, take care, gentlemen.
You
nice
too.
Seeing you again.
Reaching melting point. Not sure we can make it.
I want to thank Ken Nabbe once again for joining us. This is a fantastic discussion on Life and Death of Ferro Lad. This is a book that I hadn't read before, and it was something I was incredibly interested in. So I want to thank him once again for suggesting this. If you're looking for details on upcoming releases, please make sure to check out ragingbullets.com. We do feed X/Twitter. We also feed into our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and I really want to appreciate all the people that post over there and share news that's going on within the world of comics, blogs, posts, updates, just anything, and start conversation topics. I just really appreciate the content over there. It's where I find out a lot of information first. So I want to thank everyone for keeping that community going, and please, if you ever have any comments on any of our episodes, feel free to post over there, whether they're old or new. I keep all the episodes posted over there, and I love your feedback. Anything, questions, concerns, even corrections. We have sometimes some of our listeners will post some corrections or clarifications or their own thoughts on stories that we've been talking about here. And I always love engaging and getting more information on these great stories. I like when these episodes wind up being collaborative. So thank you for everybody that takes a chance and posts over on our Facebook group. We are proud to be sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Once again, I want to thank both companies for continuing to support our show. DCB Service is, of course, your comic book pre-order source. Everything's at a discount. And besides comic books, they always offer action figures, statues, swag, such as shirts and things like that. It's a great opportunity to be able to pick all of that stuff up at amazing discounts. And the same thing for InStockTrades.com. After things have been released, they're your collected edition source. Remember to go over there and set up a wish list for yourself of books that you're looking to get. That way you can start organizing your budget, so that way you can get the things that you're gradually looking for without missing them. I do that all the time, especially as books are being re-released that I missed the first time around. It's great to be able to pick them up over at InStockTrades.com. The About Us section of our show website is where you connect with us on gaming platforms and our own personal social media. You can also find me as a regular co-host on Is It Jaws? I'm really proud of the work that Paul and I do over there every other week, and we have a wide variety of really cool guest stars based on the film series that we're currently covering. And if you're interested in film reviews at all, please consider joining us over there, and please share that one out as well. So besides older material, Jim and I are going to start tackling some current material as well, including the DCKO event. We're going to start next week with a special episode jumping back in the Wayback Machine to tackle the DC All-In Special. Jim and I never covered that one. Then we're going to jump to present day and start tackling Superman 28 to 30, which is going to be his interactions with this current Legion. The following week, we're going to really kick into the DCKO event with the Justice League Omega Special, Justice League 11, and DCKO number 1. Then after that, we're going to be doing a couple episodes where we take a look at a different story arc. We're going to take a look at some featured characters. And then we're going to keep jumping back into the DCKO event each month to provide some coverage on what's going on in that event. So keep an eye on the show notes as we kind of craft out our roadmap. But we're going to be covering a lot of old and new material to kind of stay up to date on the things that are going on in the DC universe. Really exciting times to be a DC fan. And we will see you next week.
Bye!
Strategery. What is that supposed to mean? That's a word that I have never seen. Do you exist? Strategery. Suddenly, I don't feel as smart as I used to be. I couldn't find it in a dictionary. Oh, what the heck is strategery? Why I need to know, I don't know, it's just my way. I asked a friend I know, and they told me go away. Strategery. Maybe it's something that is wrong with me. I may need a pill from the pharmacy. Maybe that will cure my strategery. Why I need to know, I don't know, it's just my way. Just because I don't know, I'll just say it anyway. Strategery. A definition isn't meant to be, or at least one that I can see. I'm so confused. Strategery.